Welcome to PhysioMIMI. Today we're going to talk about logging into PhysioMIMI for the first time and getting started using it. We assume that we've already gone through Webmin and set up PhysioMIMI using the settings that are appropriate for our environment. So the first thing we need to do is we need to open up our web browser and we need to go to the address where PhysioMIMI is waiting for us. You remember that we talked about using the appropriate host name. In our case, in this example, it's going to be localhost. But if you've got PhysioMIMI running on a machine other than your own, then you will need to use that name. And you also need to know the host name. I'm sorry, not the host name, but rather the port that's being forwarded into the virtual machine. So you might be using 80 for the web. You might be using 443 for encrypted web. In this case, though, we're going to use this address. We're going to use um, port 8081. That's what we have forwarding into our local host. So the first thing I would need to do is I need to type in that address, https localhost:8081. When I do that, I get a warning from Firefox. It's telling me that this connection is untrusted. That's perfectly fine. I need to add the certificate into Firefox, then I won't be prompted anymore. And this procedure will be similar on whatever browser you're going to use. So I say that I want to add the exception, I want to confirm my security exception, and that's good. That means that now we're going to connect into PhysioMIMI. So we'll wait a second for that to happen, and then we can begin to log in. Here we go. We're being prompted to log in. I'm going to use the email address and the password that I set up earlier in Webmin, and I'm going to log in using the PhysioMIMI administrator account. Now for me that was admin@mimi.localhost, but for you that's going to be something else, whatever you set up. So I type in my email and my password and I hit sign in. Good. And now I'm looking at PhysioMIMI for the first time. The first thing that I can do here is I can begin to get ready for what we'll do in the next steps. I can add an ontology. This will come into play later, but for now we'll just jump ahead to that. We can look here at the ontologies that are saved in PhysioMIMI. These are shared sets of vocabulary that we're going to need to use later when we identify the concepts that we're going to pull in from our data. And I'm going to make a new ontology. I'm going to call it the SDO. That's for the sleep domain ontology. That's the you could say the default ontology here in PhysioMIMI. And there's actually an example here. The idea is that if you write your own ontology in CSV or in OWL, then you can upload it into PhysioMIMI in the same way that we're about to do here on this page, and you can add it to the sources that are available. But for now, we'll just go over using this example. So here, I'm going to choose this OWL file. In fact, I'll show it to you. Here, you can see that it's a simple RDF file. Well, it's kind of large. It's not simple. But it contains all the information about the sleep domain ontology. Anyway, I'm going to save this OWL file somewhere so that I can get to it later. And now I'm going to upload that same file here. So I will make sure that I've named it SDO. I'll browse for the file, and here we go. I upload it. So I hit create, and then I wait a few seconds. This will take a while because there's a lot of information that PhysioMIMI needs to process in order to add this ontology into its list of information. So we'll wait a little bit for that to happen, and then when that's done, we can worry about adding the databases to PhysioMIMI. That will be the next step. But what I want to do here is wait for this to finish, and then I want to demonstrate what this ontology looks like so that we can actually get some use out of it. So we'll wait a little bit longer here. It's still running. That's okay. And it should be ready any second now. Look at that nice fresh ontology that we have imported here. I'll keep in mind too while we're waiting that that I chose to use 8081 as my port to be forwarded into the virtual machine. On my end, I have that mapping to 443, so that's why I had to put the S in HTTPS. Okay, so here we are. We're looking at the at this new ontology that we've just created, the sleep domain ontology. We can look at other options we have. We could export it if we wanted to, although I'm not really going to do that now. We can see that a number of concepts have been defined inside of this ontology, which is good. That'll come in handy. All of these concepts are things that we're going to refer to later in our data. And again, if you have data that has some other concept, then you can create an ontology too and put it in here, and you'll be in good shape. Okay, so let's back up here. We'll go to the main PhysioMIMI window here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pause for now, and then we'll talk in the next video about what we can do next. We can talk about adding sources of data that will use this ontology and beginning to work with them and mapping them to the fields that we have. So stay tuned for the next exciting video in the series on PhysioMIMI.